Welcome back to Tyreek Talk. Walking into the Whitney Museum during the 2026 Biennial, you begin to notice how some works don't present themselves loudly. Instead, they ask you to look closer, to pay attention to what's usually overlooked. The Whitney, with its open galleries and constant movement of people, becomes a space where even the smallest details can hold meaning. Curated by Marcela Guerrero and Drew Sawyer, this biennial is deeply focused on the systems and experiences that shape everyday life. It's not only about major events or grand gestures, it's also about the quiet traces they leave behind. And Mo Costello's work exists precisely in that space. Her photographs don't capture spectacle, they capture aftermath. A roadside telephone pole covered in staples hints at something that used to be there. Flyers, messages, calls to action that have since been removed. What remains is subtle, almost invisible, but once you notice it, it becomes impossible to ignore. These staples become evidence of communication, of community, of something that once circulated in public space. In another image, shattered glass sits outside a MARTA transit station in downtown Atlanta. At first glance, it could be dismissed as debris, something accidental or insignificant. But within Costello's work, it registers differently. It becomes a trace of resistance, a moment that has already passed, but still lingers in physical form. What makes her work so powerful is this shift in attention. She asks you to look not at the event itself, but at what remains after, the residue, the imprint, the quiet evidence that something happened. And within the Whitney Biennial, this approach resonates deeply. This exhibition is about relationality, about how systems, histories, and communities intersect. Costello's work reveals how those intersections are often recorded not in headlines, but in small, everyday details scattered across the landscape. There's also a strong sense of locality in her practice. Her photographs are rooted in specific places. Georgia, Atlanta, Athens, they carry the texture of those environments, the rhythms of those communities. And yet, the themes they explore feel universal, because traces exist everywhere. In every city, in every neighborhood, there are signs of what has happened, if you know how to look. Another important aspect of her work is the idea of circulation. Costello creates what she calls readers, assembled collections of printed materials that combine her own work with found content. These include reproductions from local archives, essays, coupons, flyers, pieces of information that exist within everyday life. But what's significant is how she distributes them. Not in galleries or bookstores, but in gas stations, pharmacies, and local businesses around Athens, Georgia. These readers move through the same spaces as the communities they reflect. They circulate, just like the flyers that once covered those telephone poles, just like the information that moves through a city. This act of distribution becomes part of the artwork. It extends beyond the museum, beyond the gallery, into real lived environments. And that gesture connects directly to the Whitney Biennial. This exhibition is not confined to objects. It's about systems of exchange, of communication, of presence. Costello's work embodies that by moving between documentation and participation, between observation and action. The Whitney space amplifies this quiet intensity. Amid larger installations and immersive environments, her photographs ask you to slow down, to shift your focus, to notice what might otherwise go unseen. And in that slowing down, something changes. You begin to see the city differently, to recognize that every surface, every fragment, every overlooked detail carries a story. Within the Whitney Biennial 2026, Mo Costello's work becomes a powerful reminder that history doesn't only live in major events. It lives in traces, in fragments, in the subtle marks that remain long after everything else has moved on.